So on. Before I get this lesson started, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Yahawashi, Rakakadash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learned from. And a shalom to the hopefully elect brothers taking this truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahawashi. This is your brother Adah. I'm going to try to go into the casting of the 12 tribes and how casting, let's just get the definition of this. To throw violently, to fling, to hurl, okay, to throw. This is the etymon online, the word cast, okay, the meaning, to form in a mold. You got to take notes on this, because we understand that when the Most High and Yahawashi and the angels, the host, created man, he created us from the dust of the earth, right? Basically the mud, like clay with water. Same thing you do with vessels. And there's a precept that talks about how we are like the clay in the potter's hand. Okay, so once you see all this and you see that Israel is his portion, and from one end of the earth he slung us, he threw us, he cast us into the four corners of the earth, that we would take on a different shape, which means we would take on a different, we would be considered a different ethnicity. Strangers, Gentiles, Israelite foreigners. We would be the mud, we would be the clay in his hand, because he was forming us one way as Hebrew Israelites. And when we went off, when we committed adultery, when we cheated on him with the gods, with the false powers of the other nations, he warned us, we wouldn't listen, and he slung us to the four corners of the earth. And when he casted us, because the whole earth is his movie, and he is the producer, he's the director, and everyone's an actor, right? And they all live out the scripts of prophecy. He slung us, and he slung us into a mold. Let's keep reading. To warp, and itself largely has been seen or suppressed by throw, through cast. Still it is used, finishing lines, let's keep going. To emit, to give out, to throw to the ground, to shed or throw off, calculate, to calculate astrologically, to bring forth abortively, to distribute the parts, to cast, to compute, to reckon, to eject, to vomit. Here's another one. This one's really key. To throw, an act of throwing, okay, that which is cast, the meaning, dash or shade or color, the sense of a throw, right? The form the thing takes after it has been thrown. So when you think of malleable clay, when you think of clay that is still soft and it's been hurled to the air, it takes on a different shape when it hits the cast or the mold. All right? Look at this. The group of actors in a play. That is huge, because we know the prophets, the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, teach that the world, Jacob and Esau, is in the great movie of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahawashi, and that all the other nations are just, they're the filler, they're the backdrop actors, where the two main characters are Jacob and Esau. Once you understand the grand scheme and the plan of prophecy, okay, and the 12 tribes were cast in the role of as the apple of Yahweh's eye. We became adulterous over time, and we broke the covenant, and we became whorish, and the jealous rage of our husband was to sling us out to the four corners of the earth with no protection, so that we become victims of our enemies. And in process of time, once that was accomplished, he would then wake up the elect in those four corners and gather them back to himself, and he would restore the new song into their understanding, and they would chant down Mystery Babylon, which is America, and the rulership of Esau, Edom. let's go into some of these. I'm gonna attempt to go into some of the details of. It's gonna be a different kind of lesson, but it's gonna show you the movements, the migration patterns of the Israelites, and prove to you what would happen to the Israelites. So let's go to Genesis 49 and 1. Let's go to Genesis 49. Genesis 49 and 1. Everything's about prophecy, guys. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Now, when you listen, as he describes the 12 sons, these are like, okay, listen to what I'm about to say. I'm not saying that this is what this is. I'm giving you an example so you can understand. You understand? I'm gonna pull up a video, and I'm not teaching this. The 12 Zodiac. There we go. Okay, so look, we understand this bullshit, right? This is all counterfeit. But do you notice enough? Do you notice one thing that's true? There's 12. There's 12 months in a year. There's 12 people in a jury. There's 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so there's some truth to this. Okay, now where the real truth comes at, I just want to show you that real quick. I am not teaching astrology. What I am saying is this. There's in the next, if you read the rest of this chapter, he speaks a prophecy over all 12 of his sons. And the characteristics of his sons are discernible by the Spirit in this 100% truth, where you can begin to identify the 12 tribes of Israel in the earth based on the prophecies that were declared over them by their father. Okay? I apologize if my voice sounds a little scratchy right now. It's the Day of Atonement. I'm feeling the awesome affliction that we are supposed to experience in this, and I was like, let me get this lesson out the way while I have time. So if my voice sounds a little different off it, that's what you're noticing. We're gonna break down. Look at the Spirit showed me just in this first chapter, by this first verse. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. I want to point out 3 words, 3 key words: tell, befall, and last, or last days. We're going to focus on these 3 words, okay? The tell, to make known, to expound, to explain, to reveal the meaning. We're going to go into the interlinear, and we're going to show you. Okay, so when you see this from a prophetic perspective, our Father is going to expound to us prophecy. All right? Let me see. Here, that I may tell, right? Nagad.
Strong's H 5046. Nagad.
And it's to be conspicuous, tell, make known, to reveal, to tell, declare, to announce, report, to declare, to make known, to expound, to inform of. Okay, what does the Most High say in Amos? He declares, or he shares his secrets with his servants, the prophets, and we understand that only the Hebrew Israelite men of the earth are prophets. No other race is. If you are operating in supernatural ability to tell the future, you are called a wise man or a magician. But that's because you're on the left-hand side. And those types of men do exist. But prophets, they declare the truth of Yahweh and his secrets, and they are on the right-hand side, and those are only 12. Those are only the men from the 12 tribes of Israel. That's it. You got to understand this. Okay, so our father Israel is telling us he's going to expound. Let's get that word, expound. Let's get a better expound. Expound, to explain or comment, to reveal the meaning. You see how deep that is? Okay, so we understand that. So what's the next word? To befall. The next word in this prophecy, the next word in this instruction is befall. Let's get it. What does befall mean? Look at this, man. And Jacob called unto him his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall.
Strong's H 7122. Kara. Kara.
Look at this.
Second entry. Kara.
Look at this.
Kara.
To encounter. All right. To meet. To encounter, to befall, to meet what? If you keep going, meeting of adversaries, and I found that somewhere, to which shall befall you. Condition, I gotta find that, which shall befall you. There's a, it goes into the counter, the to encounter the meeting of adversaries. Okay, and we understand in Psalms 83, to befall, to encounter. Hold on, let me get the last really quick. Let's go back. And there's another word, to befall you in the last days. Now let's go into the last days, or the end times, Okay, the last. All right, after a part, end, the event, latter time, for future time, prophetic, okay, hindermost, let's do days. And you can see a division of time. You can see that this is talking about a progression of time, that we would start off one way, but we would end another way. You can see the movements, and this involves the casting. Because within this prophecy, the definitions of what would happen on the other sides of the earth, I'm going to pull one. Let me see. Let's just get let me see. Boom. Look at this. Look at Zabulon. This is one of the definitions in the prophecy of one of the sons of Israel, one of the 12 sons of Israel, right? Zabulon shall dwell at the haven of a sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Now you got to be able to. Now, how do you explain this? Nobody on television explains this. Now I apologize, I'm jumping around, okay? But this is the way I'm going to do this lesson, right? As I've listened to GMS and I've learned, and I acknowledge the elders and apostles of GMS, I'm not going to teach a different version of truth. I'm just doing this according to my personality. This is the way I'm going to teach this one. But this is a major prophecy that has to be broken down, because if you look at the ancient map, I'm going to pull up a video too. Ancient map. We'll put ancient map of Israel. 12 tribes. Let me see if that 12 tribes. Let me see if that pulls it up. Okay. Now, if you look on this map, look at this map. All right. Let me see. Look at Zabulon. That purple. That's what's called landlocked. Okay, that's purple. That little purple. And this is true. This is how we started in the presence of Yahawashi before we went off, before the split after King Solomon's rebellion or disobedience, and the punishment that we would face by being split in two, and then eventually all of us would be scattered all over the earth. You see Zabulon in this photo just under Naphtali and under Asher, right? Just above Manasseh. There's and what's the definition of haven? You got to understand this, okay? Look, Zabulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea. What's haven? We're going to get the definition of haven. Haven. Haven, port, harbor, or beach. It's beachfront, you guys. It's literally like your house. You come out to your front yard, or you walk out about 50 or 100 yards, and then you got beach sand, and then you got ocean. That's what a haven means. That's a haven. Literally from your doorstep, outside your doorstep is water. That's what that means. It's a port. It's a beach. Okay. So we see in this map that there's no way Zabulon is a haven. Yet the prophecy says he would be a haven and for ships. Okay? You got to keep this in mind. You got to look at this, right? That's Zabulon. And we know that Zabulon is part of the northern kingdom, and the northern kingdom would migrate to the Americas first. You got to go to 1 Kings chapter 9 and 1 Kings chapter 10, where it talks about we had knowledge, right? We understood. I'm showing you guys something. 1 Kings. Do I want to put? No, I want to leave that there. Let me get another version. Salakia, man. Let me get another. Let's get it. Here we go. There's gonna be a commercial on this stupid one. I hate that. Let me get this one. Here we go. Boom. All right. 1 Kings, and we understand that King Solomon is Yahawashi in his reincarnation. King Solomon was given the most wisdom out of all the kings of the earth and the most wealth. So it makes sense that at the time of King Solomon's rulership, ships, boats, that was how you traveled long distances. There were no airplanes, and a ship could go further than a horse could pull a buggy. Now, a horse could pull a buggy or a caravan far, but a ship could travel very, very far. It was basically, that was our airplanes back then, if you think about it, as far as how far you could travel. So let's go to 1 Kings 9, verse 26. Verse 26. Okay, so look, what does it say? King Solomon made a navy. King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion Geber, which is besides Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And then we're going to do this. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. Okay, and they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold 420 talents and brought it to King Solomon. So you see that Solomon has a navy, right? And let's jump. We're going to go to chapter 10. And we're going to go to verse 22. Now look at this. Very key, very, very key that you guys understand. Listen, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. What does that tell you? Look at verse 23. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. Verse 24. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which the power of the Most High had put in his heart. So just like you see Elon Musk and all the rich billionaire Edomite men today, they're trying to travel up into the airspace with their ships, right? Before that technology was established, understanding how to harness wind power on ships, that was a form of technology. And whoever could go the furthest, they were the wisest and they were the most wealthy. Does that make sense? So where was King Solomon going that would take him 3 years? That would take his men 3 years. That would mean they would have to go somewhere 1.5 years one way if you split it in half and then turn around. If I drive 3 hours, if I leave somewhere in my car and it takes me 3 hours, and I'm only at that place for, let's say, so long, that means I'm going to have to come around and come back again. So that means what? That means I drove for 1.5 hours one direction, turned around, and came back to my house, right? That's how you measure that. Then you go here. You got to go into the Apocrypha, and the Apocrypha links this up. All right? It's in Apocrypha. It's in the 13th chapter, I believe. Let's go. I'm just showing you something. I'm being very slow with this. Second Ezra 13, I believe, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes, and whereas I saw a multitude gather. Okay, look at verse 40, and we're going to read down. This is a record. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. So that's the split that happened after Solomon messed up, right? The northern kingdom, known as Ephraim or Israel, went one way, and Judah stayed. Judah is Benjamin, Levi, and Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. They stayed on that side of the country until after 70 AD. You have to understand this history. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. This is talking about the Americas, you guys, but they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never man dwelt. That's talking about North America. It's talking about the fourth part of the earth. No one had lived out here before yet, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High then showed signs to them and held still the flood till they were passed over, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. There goes your one way. There goes your half of 3 years. There goes your round trip. There goes your one way. Round trip would be 3 years. One way would be a year and a half. And they came, and the same region is called Azareth, and that's what America was first called. That's what South America, Central America, Mexico, North America, that is all talking about Azareth, because here, remember, we got to go back to the prophecy. What does it say? Zabulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. What does that mean? Well, when you go now, so remember this. That's the. I'm going to take a photo of this. That's the original. Now, where did they remember? What does it say? What happened? We were cast out. We were cast out of the Most High's. I'm going to read that. I'm going to get that. Look. Let's get this. Let's get it so you can see it. Deuteronomy 29:28. And Yahweh rooted them out at their land, rooted them out of their land in anger and in his wrath and in his great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day. And it tells you right here, we were going to go to another land, right? This is, you got to read the precept upon precept. You have to learn the skill of connecting precepts together to create the line of thought, to understand how the Most High works, okay? For through, let's read 45, 2 Ezra 13:45, and then we're going to read Deuteronomy 29:28. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Azareth. Now that lines up with First Kings 10:22 and 24, and it lines up with Deuteronomy 28 and 29, and we're going to get that right now. Let's get Deuteronomy. Because you got to remember, we were scattered. 29, 28. Okay, because we committed adultery. So here we go. Here we're going to highlight this. And Yahweh rooted them. Who's the them? Talking about the Hebrew Israelites. And the Yahweh rooted them out of their land. So this is the curse. When you lose the foundation, you got to stand on a foundation. Yahawashi is the rock that we stand on. A house has to sit on a foundation in order for it to be stable. A house is also a home is also a house, and a house is also a race of people, a family that becomes a nation, and there's all kinds of laws and protocols and order that come to that house. When you uproot a family, when you uproot a race of people from their original land, which is their house, you scatter them, you cast them, you fling them like mud. You take them from one shape that they were in your hand, and you sling them into a mold, and they take on the shape of whatever that mold is when they hit that mold, because they're still malleable, and they take on another form. And this is why people have a hard time believing that the Northern Kingdom are Latinos, because Hollywood has filled your mind with all this white people shit. But white people haven't explained the scriptures to you guys. All they did was show you pictures of movies. And in movies, when you're watching those enchantments, you become brainwashed and you take that for reality. This is the number one reason why so many people on the earth are having a hard time understanding how wicked the Edomites actually are. Because they've been looking at images of so-called white people on television, and what do you see? It's just always good people. You know, soft-spoken people. They're always the hero. They're always the romantic object. And then they tell you history, and they put themselves in the positions of those historical people, and you think that the Bible is a bunch of white people that speak British accents. No, dude. Watch. We're going to locate some of the tribes of the northern kingdom with this lesson. And Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation and cast them into another land as it is this day. Remember what cast means. Go back to cast. Go back to what cast means. What does cast mean? To throw violently, to fling, to hurl, to throw, right? To throw to the ground, right? Again, to throw that which is cast, all right? To dash. The sense of to throw, carried, an idea, the form the thing takes after it has been thrown. So you change, you become another character. Just like in a movie, when you have an actor or an actress who has been cast, they have been changed to act out another character in a movie. And Johnny Depp is a good example. How many movies has he been in? And he plays very similar characters, but when he's being interviewed in real life, he acts a different way compared to how his characters are in his movies, right? That's what the cast means. He's the same person. He's just in a different shape. And it's the same thing with the nations, how Yahweh cast away the 12 tribes of Israel, that we're still the same people. We're just acting out a different role in a different part of the earth because we're not in our homeland. Does that make sense? I apologize for my voice. Let me see. So we're going to go back to this. So Yahweh rooted them out, right? And he cast them in his anger. So part of the casting is not just scattering, it's also changing form. Let's get the precept. Let's get it real quick. Hold on. Let's get the precept. Let's get it. Let me see if I can. Let me get all these out of the way. Are you not like? Remember this picture. Are you not like the clay or the? Let me see. The potter's house. The potter's house. Went down to the potter's house. It's in Jeremiah. There you go. Okay, so look. Jeremiah 18:3. Then I went down to that potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheels. Verse 4. And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in his hand. What does this go into? We are created subject to vanity. This is all within the sovereign plan of Yahweh. If you go into 2 Ezra chapter 6, he tells you, before all of this was created, I thought about it all. I went, let's just get it, man. And then we're going to come right back to this. Watch. You got to see this, you guys. You have to see this. 2 Ezra 6. It's like the first 4 verses. Look at this, bro. So the angel is speaking. Ezra asked a question, and let me see if we can find it at the bottom of the next page, at the next chapter. It's a very long chapter. So look, then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. So he was asking the angel a lot of questions. So then the very next verse is this. The angel begins, it goes deep into the spirit, and he's speaking for Yahweh by Hashem Yahawashi to Ezra, okay? And this is what he says. Listen to this, man. This is ancient history. This is history being told you before the earth was created. Look at this, verse 1. And he said unto me, in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together. That's a long time ago, you guys. Or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measure of the firmament, okay, were named, or ever the chimney of Zion were hot, or Salakia, or ere, let me see, Salakia, or ere the present years were sought out, or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed, they have gathered sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things. So Yahweh was in his chariot on his throne before Yahawashi was created, before the Alahayim were created by Yahawashi, and before Yahawashi and the Alahayim created all of creation and the nations according to Yahweh's plan. Yahweh at one time was by himself, and he was just thinking. He was considering it all, you guys, in his mind. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. So you got to understand how deep, just this one verse right here, there is not enough servers. There is not enough databases or banks on earth to contain the level of revelatory, leveled, compartmentalized information inside of the Most High's mind. You don't understand everything from cells to seasons, night and day, nationalities, genetic codes, genealogy, everything, you guys. Seeds, the universe, everything, and even down to how we would disobey, be punished, how he would make a covenant with us, we would disobey, we would commit adultery, he would warn us, we would refuse, he would punish us, he would scatter us, we would start acting like other nations, and then he would wake us up again in those lands of those other nations and bring us back to him. You got to understand that's what goes into the casting of the 12 tribes. It is so fucking deep. Go back. Let me see, where was I at? Okay, yeah. Whew. See, I don't want to lose I'm going to freak around and lose, because I'm trying to just, So you got Jeremiah 18:3, and remember, he thought of all this, right? So in him thinking of all this, listen to what I'm saying. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheels. Now this is the Most High, and the clay. Let's say the clay is Yahawashi, right? And the clay is the 12 tribes. Can you get that in your spirit? Because it's the truth. It's what he did. And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again, another vessel, as seemed good to the potter to make it. You got to understand, this little verse right here, when you think of Adam, when you think of Isaac, when you think of King Solomon, and then you think of Yahawashi. Now go back again. When you think of Eve, when you think of Abraham, when you think of King David, and when you think of the 12 tribes, 12 apostles, why do they say it like that? Because all those spirits and Yahawashi have been back on the earth multiple times in reincarnations. And multiple times we have all failed and then got it right, but failed and then got it right. Does that make sense? Yahawashi, he messed up as Adam. And that's why the coats of skin were made for him and Eve, and not the serpent, but Eve is a type and shadow of the elect. Because Eve messed up too. Then Isaac comes down and acts out. And who is Isaac? Isaac is Yahawashi. He acts out what he will do in the future. And Abraham, Father Abraham, is the man that the Most High made the covenant with, and we all descend from him, Isaac, and Jacob. Then King Solomon is born through King David, and King David is our king, the king of David, the throne of David, the tabernacle of David, the city of David. And then when Yahawashi comes back as Yahawashi, he picks out the 12 tribes, or the 12 apostles, and he prays that for all those who would believe on their message of him through them. And that goes into us, the elect, right? We've all been here. We are this marred clay, and it was done on purpose. We started off marred on purpose to bring about the rebellion and the adultery that would bring about the warning and then the punishment, which then would bring about the casting. It's been Yahweh's sovereign plan the whole time, and then the casting would take place. We would take on another shape and another nation, and we would operate under the indoctrinations of another race of people. And then Ezekiel 37 would come, and he would wake us up, and then we would become a new look. And so he made it again. That's the new covenant. That's the blood of Yahawashi. So he made it again, another vessel, as seemed good to him. With great labor, I have perfected my plant. Let's get it. Let's get it. With great labor, and that great labor, with great labor, that took a lot of time. With great labor, and now I'm going to bring it around as best I can. Okay, I have perfected my grape. I have perfected my grape or my plant. Let me see. Second Ezra, let the multitude perish. I'm about the 2/3 and everybody else, which were born in vain, and let my grape be kept and my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect. It just goes into this, and Yahawashi had to die and shed his blood for this to happen, and it's why we're observing the Day of Atonement right now. Why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this to now go back. Zabulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his borders shall be unto Zidon. Now we're gonna go and get a picture of Central America, a map of, I'm just gonna say South America to get it all. Look at this, and there's so much more detail, you guys. I'm not doing it justice. Here we go. That's what I wanted. I want that one. Let me see if it pulls it up. Ah, come on, man, you're taking forever. Okay. What up, dog? Big man. So let me see. South America. Central, let me say South and Central America. South and Central America. All right, bam. All right, images. That's what I should have been doing. Salakia. Okay. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. So when you pull this up right here, all of South America, Central America, and Mexico, these are all your Northern Kingdom Israelites. And we can prove it. But I just want to focus on Central America and Zabulon, comprising of Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. That is the tribe of Zabulon, and that makes them the haven of ships, which means they are beachfront, because on all sides you see the beach, and if you look right here in the center of the screen, that is the river or the canal, the Panama Canal, and that is like literally, watch. I'm gonna pull it up. The Panama Canal is a man-made 50-mile waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the Isthmus of Panama. It acts as a crucial shortcut for global maritime trade, saving ships. Do you have any fucking idea how many ships go through this haven? You're going to say that this doesn't connect to what the scriptures say, that these people would be cast, that they would be slung to the four corners of the earth, and that the prophecy shows you in the beginning of the map. The map starts off like this, where Zabulon is in the center of the dirt. There's no ships, there's no beachfront, nothing, and then they end up like this. Now I know there's more details I'm missing, but this is a major detail, and you never hear anybody in Christianity, you never hear anybody connect these dots. There's more connecting points. I'm gonna pull up a video because this is already getting long, but you see it. It's 50 miles. It's a waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean through the Isthmus of Panama. It acts as a crucial shortcut for global maritime trade, saving ships significant time and fuel by avoiding the long voyage around South America. The canal uses a system of locks to raise and lower ships between different. Let's see how many ships goes through the Panama Canal on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis. So I asked it, how many ships go through? Whoo! Look at that, bro. Look at the numbers. And these are massive ships. These aren't little boats where two guys have a fucking little pull motor. No, these are massive cargo ships. They're like small cities, okay? Under normal circumstances, the Panama Canal handles about 36 to 38 ships per day. These are massive fucking ships, you guys. Look. You see how big that fucking thing is? Look at that, dude. Look at that. Look at the size of the vehicles that are on the side of it, and then you got a man or two just driving it. That gives you an idea of how massive that ship is. Look at that fucking ship, bro. That's how many. So the ships that big, that many. 1,080 to 1,140 ships per month. So that's like 30 to 40 a day. That are this big. And you're telling me that this doesn't line up? Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be. Put it this way: show me a group of white people that line up with this prophecy. Exactly. You see how television has fucking lied to us about every goddamn thing? And this is just one aspect. There's more connecting points to just this one prophecy about this one tribe. And I'm only focusing on the haven of ships. That's all I'm doing. I'm showing you guys something, bro. I'm just showing you. Let me go back to we're just focusing on this. You don't even want to get into the Aztecs, who are the Mexicans, and how you don't even want to get into all that. You don't want to get into how it talks about how Zebulun, Ashur, I believe, would be standing at Ashur and Naphtali. They would be standing on oil. They would be awesome on their feet, and when it comes to they're like a hind let loose. Talking about how awesome they are on the horses. They ride rodeo horses and cows with no fucking straps, with just with their legs gripping on. White boy cowboys don't do that shit. Talking about the robustness of their wine and their food. Talking about the oil that's actually in there. Barazal is how you say Brazil in Hebrew, and it means iron, I believe. It's talking about the minerals. There's all kinds of. It's endless, but I don't want to get into too much of that. Let me pull up a video. I'm gonna stop the video. I'm gonna pull up a video, and I'm gonna end it. So listen to this.
Together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So they wouldn't be in the last days. They would be scattered due to the diaspora, according to Deuteronomy 28:64. We would be scattered across the four corners of the earth. Now, when you look at an ancient biblical map, and keep this in mind. Let's just blow this up. It says the vision of the promised land of the 12 tribes of Israel. Don't pay attention to that. That's not the name of the Lord. The name of the only begotten Son is the name of the only begotten Son is Yahawashi, not no daggone Jesus Christ. Now, this is the location of Tally right here in the ancient biblical days, right next to Asher, right? So, let's get that Genesis 33. Now, when you look up these tribes, go to Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33, because in Deuteronomy 33, let's get the top of it, the blessing of Moses, Mashah. I should have closed these windows, Salaki. Deuteronomy 33 and 1, the blessing of Moses. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the Most High's name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahawashi, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, the Lord, Yahweh, came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with tens of thousands of saints. Who are the saints? The Israelites. Psalms 148 and 14 and Psalms 50 and 5. They named that football team in New Orleans after the Israelites. That's why Jake liked that team so much down there. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. And let's go down to Deuteronomy 33, I believe 23. As Vocab Malone says, we're Hebrew hopscotching. But he's doing it himself nowadays. All right. So it says of Naphtali, remember Naphtali, let's get that Hebrew word again. Naphtali. And of Naphtali, he said, oh, Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with blessing, and full with the blessing of the Lord. Because, hey, all 12 tribes got a blessing. Just how, like, Joseph, all right, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Ephraim got a blessing of that land that the Lord. But continue on, it says, and full with the blessing of the Lord's name is Yahweh, possess thou the west and the south.
Okay, so this was actually the video I was looking for. Same brother, same channel, GMS, Bear Witness, of the Light 447. So I'm trying to focus on just Zabulon right now, and so he's going to go into Panama. Check him out.
It says, officially, the Republic of Panama is a transcontinental country in Central America and South America, bordered by Costa Rica to the west, Colombia to the southeast, and the Caribbean Sea to the north, and the Pacific Ocean to the south. Its capital and largest city is Panama City, whose metropolitan area is home to nearly half the country's 4 million people. Now, when you go to the anthem of Panama, it gives you himno et Isthmio, which means hymn of the isthmus. Now, that word isthmus goes into a narrow strip of land with sea on either side, forming a link between two areas of land. Now, we got a map of it, and this is where Panama is at. Okay, that's the isthmus. Okay, you got the land of the Caribbean Sea that links up to the Atlantic Ocean, and you got the Panama Canal, because during the time of the conquistadors, those Edomites, they were looking for a way to go around. They were going all the way. They were coming from the old world, so to speak, to the so-called new world. They were coming down Brazil, or they were coming from the Horn of Africa, and they had to go around.
And you can see how he's going into more detail with Zabulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea and shall be for a haven of ships. And they do about 1,100 ships the size of a city every month in this one haven of ships. So this is Zabulon.
Argentina, and come all the way back up to hit the Americas. So in 1914, as we're going to get into, the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal is an artificial 51-mile waterway in Panama that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean and divides North and South America. So that's the Panama Canal. Yahawashi put that on the spirit of the heathens to create the Panama Canal to fulfill biblical prophecy. And it was originated, it says, August 15th, 1914. Now, we just had a class on this lesson, and as we went into, there was a lot of casualties involved in this. It was a lot of Benjamites, just like Jacob period. It was,
I think it was like, 27,000 people.
Exactly.
Actually, it was 27,000 people who passed away, man.
Yeah.
All right, during that time, because there was a lot going on. There was a lot of, building and people falling and people drowning.
Yeah.
And, those conquistadors, quote unquote, all right, they was giving Jay hell, man. Okay, Edom was giving Jay hell, as usual.
Yeah. So that's basically it for Zebulon. That lets you know where the indigenous people from Guatemala to Panama are at. And we got a lot of tabs on here, so just bear with us.
Okay, so I'm going to cut this short, but look, so what's the end result? We are all the creation of the Most High, but the 12 tribes are the chosen of Yahweh B'Shem Yahawashi. We are the only nation that he married. Okay? And so he started us off one way with the first covenant. We broke it, which was part of his plan. He slung us out of his presence, right? He cast us into another movie or to another scene in the movie where we would take on the characteristics of the heathen nations and become Gentiles. And that was our punishment. Because while we were taking on the characteristics of the Gentiles, they would also be ruling over us. That's our punishment for our adulteries. But now the blood of Yahawashi has redeemed us. And now we are in the portion of the movie where we are being restored, right? And we're being made back into another, we're being restored. What was the, let's get it real quick. Let's get that, let's get, where was it? Potter. The Potter's house. Let's get it really quick. All right. Then I went down. So Jeremiah 18:3. Then I went down to the Potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheels, right? And the vessel, verse 4, and the vessel that he made of clay was marred. There goes your sin. That's your transgression. That's us being created subject to vanity, which means we would go off, right? And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter, so he made it again, another vessel, as seemed good to the potter to make it. Now, what does this involve? This involves the death of Yahawashi, his blood, and our faith in him, right? So that we can then what? Be transformed, be conformed, to be conformed into the image of Yahawashi, into the image. Now I gotta say this stupid word, image of Jesus. Yuck. Because his name is Yahawashi, but that's a precept. It's in Romans. The Apostle Paul wrote it. For whom he did foreknow. Remember 2nd Ezra chapter 6? He pondered all of this. He thought about all this. The Most High thought about every detail before he got busy, before he started getting, before he started creating. And part of his creation plan was that he would choose one nation out of 18. He would marry them, and they would cheat on him. He would warn them, they wouldn't listen, and he would punish them and cast them away from his presence, and they would take on another shape. Then in process of time, he would restore the elect, and what would he do? He would conform the elect to the image of his son. It's the clay, you guys. It's the marred clay becoming perfect clay. Verse Romans 9:28. For whom he did foreknow, he did also predestinate to be conformed, to be cast to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn of many brethren. And we are going to be cast again, you guys. We're going to be cast into the mold of Yahawashi HaMashiach. Okay? I know that this was all over the place, Salakia, but I had to get this up on the internet so I can listen to it again and get better. But I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahawashi, B'Hashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone of whom I learned from, and a shalom to the hopefully elect, taking his truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits of Yasharallah to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahawashi. This is your brother Radah. Shalom.